Hello everyone, what's up? DAdvisoor here at the special stable retreat at Puerto Varas, Patagonia, Chile. I'm very excited to have on for the first interview that I'm doing with this series of short yet hopefully very interesting interviews with one of the people I'm actually mostly excited of meeting here at Stable Retreat, done for the first time, co-hosted, by the way, I should say, by Frankencoin, by NEU Holdings, a family office, local family office here, based both here and in Switzerland, and what everyone's favorite summit, probably, Stable Summit, at least in our circle. And I'm really proud to actually do this first one with, I want to say it right, Michael Svoboda.
Yeah,
that's how you say it.
great.
Michael Svoboda, CEO of Liquity Protocol, one of DeFi's finest, with no arguments, I'd say.
Yeah, thank you for having me. So actually, just to make it correct, I'm the CEO of Liquity AG, so the company that develops
okay.
it. Because yeah,
you're right.
Liquity
protocol doesn't make sense.
Is a very decentralized protocol, and we have no control whatsoever over it, and it's just running on its own. And I think that comes back to the point that makes it really special.
Yeah, I agree. I think that Liquity really has a unique position in the industry, because I really think that once the subject of decentralization comes up, basically it's in a class of its own, usually.
I agree. I think we made the bold decisions. That's why we call kind of our stablecoin also bold in V2, to make it really in a way where we value decentralization, and meaning decentralization. What does it mean for the user? That the user has control, can't be rocked, that the stablecoin can't be stopped, that it's transparent. So exactly the opposite what we have seen with XUSD and Stream Finance, where kind of everybody says it's DeFi, but behind the scenes something else is happening. With Liquity, there is no behind the scenes. And I think in that sense, yes, I think we try to go really to the extreme. How far can we decentralize these days a stablecoin that only lives on chain, that is only backed on chain, that is only run by code, so that you as a user have full control and nobody else has more information or control as you have. I think, and that's for me the fundamentals, what I see, why we should have decentralization. Kind of, okay, I'm in control and nobody else. And I think that's what Liquity is about.
I agree. I usually, like, when I do these, one of the questions I like to ask is like, what separates your protocol or what from any other in the specific niche? I actually think, but that's exactly what you've just answered in a way, like the unique position that. The unique extreme position, maybe, is the best way to describe it, that Liquity has taken in order to really to emphasize that the number one priority is this decentralization and immutable aspect of the code, of the protocol, and just like you said, become unruggable.
And you don't need to trust anybody. That was the stance. But I think it's important, because decentralization only matters when it matters, and I think it's important. Exactly. And it's good to have this option or a dollar of last resort. But we also want to have a good product. So I think V2 is also a very good product, exactly also because it's built in a way that there is no DAO needed, no management needed. So it's very efficient. It's just run by code. Yeah. So let's not forget that. I think decentralization is an important part, but not only the means to its ends. I mean, the goal is also to have the good borrowing product. So with Liquity, you can borrow, and I think it has one of the cheapest rates to borrow against your ETH collateral. Do that with a high loan to value. And with Bolt, the stablecoin that you borrow, you also get like the market rate in DeFi. So you have also good, very native DeFi yield. And I think that's important too, to be able to offer that. And with that, I think how I view Liquity is really like a self-service bank for Ethereum believer. Because if you have ETH and value that you control your ETH, I think Liquity delivers you the product in a way that you give up as little control as possible. So what do you want to do with your ETH? You don't want to sell it. You want to borrow against it. That's what Liquity offers. You want to hold a stablecoin. That's the bold stablecoin, only backed by ETH and staked ETH. So you can always redeem. Your collateral is on chain. It's transparent. So you hold a dollar that you control, and you can earn and save in this dollar. So you have three products that make ETH useful on chain. And I think that's what Liquity is about.
Amazing. You know, when I was very fortunate to have a walk with you yesterday, just before the official opening dinner of Stable Retreat, and we were walking in the beautiful Puerto Varas streets and by the lake, and you really shared a lot of very interesting facts about Liquity. Of course, we can't have such a long talk as well here, but you've touched on a few topics that I do want us to try at least and touch to let the audience some kind of a taste of it. First is, when you guys made the move back then from V1 to V2, you did have like a kind of a shift in a way, because V1 in a way was a very purist, like only ETH collateral and nothing beyond that. And with V2, other types of collateral, the LSTs, joined the game in a way. Can you share maybe a few words to describe like what was your decision making process doing that? Like, why was it the right decision? I think it was, by the way, of course, but like, why was it actually the right decision? And what were like the stuff that you guys considered before doing it and made you actually decide to go for this new version when you did?
Yeah, so we had only ETH as a collateral. Back then you didn't have LSTs, so we just wanted to have the most sound backing for an Ethereum dollar, and that was ETH. And with V2, things have changed, and we felt that the market and people felt comfortable holding these blue chip LSTs like Lido, Staked ETH, and Rocket Pool. But we just wanted to have very few. So we opened up the collateral a bit, kind of at a bit more risk. But we felt that's the reality where the normal ETH users, maybe not the hardcore ones, feel comfortable. And that's why we added that. But we, for example, deliberately decided against LRTs. They were the big thing back then. And everyone said, we need to have LRTs. And
hype. They were the biggest hype.
They were the biggest hype. And we just said, no, we don't know. Kind of these collaterals are not so sound. There are, how they are built. And they are just not battle tested yet. And Liquity, because it's immutable and we can't change anything, you need to build it in a battle tested way, and with the LRTs you have the Oracle topics, a lot of things. So we had to build it so it can run without us and it can run in the future. And that's why we felt we added 2 more collaterals to appeal to more users and their reality, but we kept it very strict so we don't add too much risk.
Another thing you've mentioned yesterday is the different design of Liquity in how it captures like the value for the users within the ecosystem. Like, unlike other protocols, even decentralized ones that often try to focus and benefit the token holders, like the governance token holders, or however we call that. With Liquity, it's kind of different because, like, it's if I understood correctly the way you've described it to me, it's like giving the whole point of giving back to the users themselves and like rewarding the actual users of Bold rather than only the holders of LQTY, the governance token. So maybe, and I actually think that that's a very unique perspective within the space, because at least on most of the tokens that I'm looking at, and within all these communities, almost always the question that arises is, okay, how do we, the holders of the governance token, actually benefit and bring back the value? And I was very used to like thinking about it only in this way. But you kind of opened my eyes yesterday when we were talking to the fact that this is kind of a narrow way to look at things in a way. So maybe you could share a bit about the different design that Liquity has and why it's designed in that way in order to benefit whom exactly.
Yeah, so I think at the end, as I said, we want to build a great product. And to build a great product, I think it needs to be very efficient and it shouldn't be extractive. So we want to have the best borrow product with the lowest rates and a stable coin with very good yield, risk adjusted. And the way to build it is, as I said, we have two products. And these two products is like a balance. You have two players that you serve. You have the borrowers, they pay an interest, and then you have stablecoin holders that hold the stablecoin, or like the lenders. And the simple thing we did is just funnel 100% of the interest to the users without extracting value, without taxing, so that borrowers need to pay little and stablecoin holders get a lot. So the spread is very tight. And I think that should lead to the best borrowing product and a very good yield. And that's the strategy, to first make a great product and grow it. And once you grow it, I think then you should think about giving value back. So, but just taking 100%, funneling it directly through these holders and connecting these two users and markets which need to interact with each other, I think is very unique, because just to show you, in every other protocol, a DAO or somebody else is taking the revenue, and then maybe the stablecoin depegs. Was the case early in Go. Then somebody needs to decide, okay, we need to funnel yield to it so people hold it. You build a whole complex thing, you extract value, and I think that makes the product just less attractive. So that's what we thought first. And then how does the token play into that is that 75% of this borrowing interest goes to the stablecoin holders, 25 goes also to the stablecoin holders, but in LP pools, because liquidity is also a key issue you need to solve.
If you don't have like liquidity, you don't have anything.
And this 25% is controlled by LQTY stakers. That needs to be a bit more flexible. Everything else is immutable, but to which LP pools, and that's the only decision they can make, or to which pools they can direct, LQTY stakers can do that. And once you have a lot of revenue, you can start building a bribing market or do stuff with that revenue. And that's how we can give value back. But we wanted to align it. It only makes sense that everybody is interested to grow the system first, and then you have control over
it. Definitely sounds like it is designed to enable maximum growth and scale of the project rather than maximize revenue of any kind for like the specific holders of a governance token.
Or it goes together, but extracting as least value as possible at the beginning. It's like with a startup, If you have a startup and I say, give me 50% of your revenues, then you don't invest them in the future or in user acquisition or and so on. And so we're in this stage, and that's why we hope, and we were always aware that we too should grow slowly. It's not built to grow quickly, but I think over time people should realize, hey, the borrow rates are really low, kind of market lowest borrowing rates, and the yield for the risk I get, there's very little risk compared to all other stablecoins and yields. Just think about it. Usually, if you get yield on your stablecoin, I'm giving you my stablecoin, and you lend it out. So somebody else has it. Either then I have these liquidity crunches we've seen with Stream Finance, in Morpho, and so on. Or somebody even more opaque is doing something with it. Liquity is very unique in the sense, if I put my stablecoin into Liquity, it just sits there. I see it. Nobody else uses it. And I can withdraw at any time. Still, I'm paid kind of normal above treasury yield for that. For just having it sitting there. And I think that's really very low risk yield. And I think once people realize, they say, hey, that's like we have the Ethereum dollar, we have an Ethereum savings account. That's why I had made a bit the image of the Ethereum bank, I get great products which I'm in control in. I can self-service finance myself. It's like self-service finance in a sense.
You've also explained something yesterday that I don't even know what's the proper way to ask about it, but you've touched on the topic that like if someone has like rETH or stETH, but like only one of them loses, like the market loses confidence in only one of them, it actually is something that Liquity is very well designed for.
Yeah, we had that in mind because now we have 3 collaterals. So we wanted to make sure incentives are there that if, if the protocol detects risk, and it's not that there is a DAO, but just kind of by people, where are they putting their money? Which market are they betting, or where are they depositing to liquidate positions? If we see, for example, people are not willing to do that for rETH, then this collateral is kind of started to be wind down, or kind of protocol is making sure it's getting rid of it just by the incenting of the mechanism. So we have 3 collateral markets that are relatively independent to contain the risk. It can even be that a branch is shut down because people lose confidence, and still you have Lido and ETH, or you have
each collateral is what you refer to as a branch. Yes.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, we try to be very conservative.
Yeah, I think it is a very conservative protocol, you can say, in many ways. Another point I want to touch with you is we've mentioned crypto stables yesterday. Like, what should be defined as an actual crypto stable? Because today, and again we've spoken about it yesterday. Vast majority of the capital within the stablecoin markets is USDT and USDC. And I don't have this. I didn't check the numbers exactly, but it's above 90% at a minimum. Like, I don't want to say a higher number just to say, but it is. Let's say it's higher than 90%. And so many of these are like, okay, we call them crypto, but like, is it really a crypto token if I have no idea what's actually behind it, and what's and not only what's behind it, but and that's a point that you've actually made me realize, that like, who's benefiting from the fact that this token exists? Like, for example, who's benefiting from the fact that USDT exists, or who's benefiting from the fact that someone holds USDC, rather than quite a few stablecoins. I think we've counted basically 5 at like a first count, and of course, correct us if you have anything to add. But the only crypto stables that we've mentioned yesterday as recognized, and you gave the criteria, which was, if I remember correctly, maybe I'll let you say it. Like, what's the criteria, first of all, for a crypto stable, for you to call it this way?
Yeah, maybe let's start with what you said, who benefits. A lot of people don't understand that if they hold USDC and USDT, they have just a token which is recorded, but the value sits in banks, in treasuries, in these funds. So by holding this stablecoin, you're moving funds from chain off chain. So I think that's the first point to realize. Mm-hmm. And we are not doing us a favor. That's why I started to call or use the term crypto stablecoin. And how do they differ? These are stablecoins that are backed by on-chain assets. So like in our case with ETH, Rocket Pool ETH, and USDC has just treasuries. And with every crypto-backed stablecoin you hold in your wallet, you're helping your own pocket and the ecosystem, because you bring value from USDC, which is treasuries, on chain. So actually by holding both, you create demand for ETH. And I think that's just underestimated how we could help our own bags by more using this crypto-backed stable. And to go to the definition, very broadly, I would say everything that brings value back on chain, or as in 95% of the stablecoin is backed with on-chain assets, that's what I would call a crypto stablecoin. Because the others, they are just using the blockchain rails, digital rails.
Yeah.
But they're not digital. Crypto-backed stablecoin are digital in the sense that the collateral is also digital. So I think Bold is one of the very few stablecoins you can say actually it's a digital stablecoin, because it's on digital rails. It's only backed by Ether, which is also digital. You know, it has no ties to the real world. And you could compare it to Bitcoin. You know what Bitcoin is for digital gold. Bitcoin is like digital gold. Gold is off-chain. I think it's bold. It's like a digital stablecoin because it has no ties to the real world and real value. And I think that's just an underexplored fact. But to come kind of to your point, yeah, crypto-backed stables, on-chain collateral, and the realization for people, I can help my bags when I'm holding crypto-backed stables, because we bring more value back on-chain from the banks and the traditional system.
Exactly. These are like, even if they are dollar denominated stable coins, they are actually crypto native tokens, because they increase the demand for the actual crypto collateral, which is what we usually call our bags.
Whether it's, you know, if you sell a USDC, somebody has to sell a treasury somewhere. So kind of a TradFi guys loses TVL. And if you buy Bolt, then somebody has borrowed against ETH. So kind of the demand for stablecoin increases, and also, you rewarded somebody that locked ETH and borrowed against it. And in our system, if you do that, if you create demand, that makes borrowing again cheaper. So now everybody that has ETH can more
so the more people do it, the more the rest of us benefit. Actually, the more of us play the game, we're like more.
Liquid is very, you know, if you create demand, you have 1 million in USDC, you sell the treasuries. Now you buy Bolt. By creating demand for Bolt, the price goes up. This means borrowers can borrow lower. So it's better for people that have ETH. And they borrow more, there's more demand for ETH, price go up, you can more borrow. So you have like a small flywheel, like this MicroStrategy DAdds. You know, I think not only bringing the value, but with our system, it also benefits the users of the system. That's what I mean. You keep the value on chain. That's why also Hyperliquid, for example, was keen to have a stablecoin that gives value, like of the interest, back to the ecosystem. And I think especially in our case, 100% of the value that is created stays in the ecosystem. It's not extractive. And I think that's something where, as you said, with Go, Curve USD, and the others, I think where we should collaborate and make it clearer to users how they can benefit their own bags and our ecosystem by using our products.
Yeah, we've actually talked yesterday about the fact that we need some kind of a metric or a rank of how much are you following your own words and promises? Like how much do you put actions behind your own words? Because it's always easy to talk, but if you have a treasury that's like 100 million, but only 5 million out of it actually goes to like crypto native stable coins. So
you're extracting value.
Yeah,
you know?
Exactly. How does your treasury actually serve the community in the long run?
And yourself, because you're in the
exactly. Because the more you keep talking about it, the more I realize that the big issuers of the stablecoin networks, which you also actually mentioned, that the biggest advantages that they have is the distribution that they have in the network that they've had, because being early on, like USDT and Bitfinex that you've mentioned, and USDC with Coinbase, they just found a very, I would say, even elegant way to extract value. You know what I mean? Like
Tether is the best business model ever.
They play as if like, oh yeah, of course, we're here to serve you. We're here to do you a favor, guys. Of course, we're here to save the day and provide you with like a stable coin. And I won't lie, like back then, this probably was a very crucial service until the rise of the decentralized stable coin. With LUSD being maybe like the first one of them, especially if you want to consider like a really decentralized
single collateral die at the beginning.
Right. I haven't thought about it as well. But yeah, they're actually extractors in a very unique way that is not often referred to as extraction. Like, to be honest, up until our call, I haven't realized the how extractive this actually is.
Yeah, I mean, they make billions, Tether makes billions.
Yes, there is
but there is a value, otherwise people wouldn't use it, you know.
And now they also have the network effect as
Fair
well.
enough, but how long will that be? Yeah, I think it will change. Hyperliquid is a great example, like Hyperliquid is not willing that everything is extracted from their ecosystem.
It's a small community.
So now they're saying we want a stable coin that helps to grow our ecosystem, and we don't want USDC and Tether that funnel everything out. So you see, it will be compressed and started to compress in new areas where it's not possible anymore. And I think a lot of L1 and L2 chains realized that they should keep the value in the ecosystem. And for Ethereum, I think we can do that by using crypto-backed stables.
Is there anything specific that you think that we can or should do in order to try and change that situation, other than raise awareness or stuff like that? Like any specific ideas on how we actually change this equation of over 90 something percent of even the stablecoin market that is so interesting to all of us is basically a TradFi market in disguise.
Yeah, you know how we should think about it, and I think Ethermine with their EtherDebt did a good thing about it. They just said, we want 5%. We want to buy 5% of Ethereum. Now they have 2.8, 2.9, and they call it 5% alchemy. And I like that. It's very tangible, it's realistic, and they had a goal. And that's like the TradFi way to do that. And I think we can do the same on-chain. Let's say, I don't know, what's the stablecoin market?
300 million, give or take? I don't know, we should check.
Let's say, I don't know, 99% is in these...
300 billion, of course.
Yeah, is in these traditional stablecoins, TradFi stablecoins. Imagine if we would say, let's take 5%, that's 15 billion. Just 5% of your portfolio into crypto, so just backed stables. So just swap USDC into Bold, into Go, into Curve USDC. It's not such a big step. It's a small step for you, but like in the moon landing, it's a small step for you, but a big step for the ecosystem, because 5% of 300 billion, it's 15 billion of value coming back on chain, on demand for crypto assets, for Ether, for Web, Bitcoin, and so on. So I think, that's what we should cheer for. And 5% is not much. Actually, it should be higher. But I like,
let's start with 5%, then we demand more.
The 5% alchemy, this is the 5% DeFi alchemy, what we can also do. And we don't need anybody. Everybody has stablecoins. So yes, we should be proud, and everybody should say, I have at least 5%. And maybe some really Ethereum native treasuries should say, we have 50% in crypto-backed stables. And we're doing it for ourselves and for our ecosystem, and we are proud, I don't said that everybody needs to use these crypto-backed stables, and some are better, to do stuff. But just kind of for the things you hold, I think they are a great alternative, and we are leaking too much value.
I agree. There's a whole lot of money leaving. It's not even sitting on the table. It's a whole lot of money leaving the table.
Yeah.
Instead of us buying stuff with this kind of money, like pumping our own bags, passively.
We're giving it away for free. That's like,
exactly.
It's
a hidden tax in a way.
It's a hidden tax.
It's a hidden tax. It's a very eye-opening way of looking at it, and I'm very actually happy I got to get this long chat with you, and I really tried to deliver as much of it here, and I actually think you did a great job at it. Before we wrap up, I'd want to ask you a few shorter things. Anything we should have touched and I haven't asked that you really want to share with whoever gets to see this that comes up to mind?
Maybe just to mention, sometimes it's underexplored. I think Liquity 1 was already forked a lot. So we were able to create this DeFi stablecoin blueprint that used, I think with V2 we succeeded again. So we have almost on all chain. With
V2 you have 24 or 25, 23 forks or something like that. No, it's incredible. The model,
actually, we signed more than 30 agreements, not all of them.
Oh, wow. The model itself is crazy.
Yeah, so that works great. So I think that's also very cool to see. And with that, we also have a
and
lot.
By the way, if I remember correctly, the main beneficiary of this is also bond holders.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the bootstrapping mechanism. We call it Forkonomics. So these projects give back some of their token for being able to use the code base back to users that use Bolt to save or in LPs. So just check out also the yield opportunities we have out there. More than 15 things you can do: deposit Bolt, LP Bolt, on Ethereum, on the fork chains. That's currently incentivized, and I think it's also a very unique mechanism to bootstrap your own protocol, and also how you work with forks. I think that's a much more balanced way as we've seen in the past. Either it's not possible or it's open source, and then just people take it and run with it, like with Uniswap and what was the fork? Uniswap and the other DEX that just took the Uniswap code, which was very extractive. They didn't give anything back.
I'm not sure. We'll put it in the comments anyway. Once we're reminded. But yeah, because when you say about Uniswap today, I remember like a post I saw that was actually from yesterday that they're starting to do buybacks.
Yeah.
Or something like that. For me, I don't know. I've never was that impressed by buybacks. I don't think it's a really. I think it's a bit of a lazy model. I don't know how to explain it exactly. I don't think it's the best way to reward participants. I think that you guys, for example, have thought of a much more interesting and more useful way of rewarding participants within the ecosystem, which I actually really appreciate and admire. Another point I want to touch on is if I understood correctly from what Johannes just mentioned, shout out Johannes, of course, respect for organizing the whole thing and giving me and the audience this opportunity to sit here with Michael. You're hosting a short keynote of your own here on the stage there, over there, right?
Yeah, so it's actually not a keynote. It's more, we have several stablecoin projects here. And I think, I want to talk about growth and go-to-market of stablecoins. We have so many stablecoins, and it's very hard. It's a very hard challenge to grow a stablecoin in these markets because you have the incumbents, and it's very easy to launch a stablecoin. But then growing it, making it useful is very hard. And I want to make a session about that with the participants that have hands-on experience.
Amazing. So basically, it's the main topic of this talk will be go-to-market strategies of crypto.
How do you grow a stablecoin? Building a stablecoin. Okay, coming up with a new protocol is hard too, but just taking an approach like Liquity V1 or V2 and deploying it is very easy.
Yeah.
But then, how to grow it from 5 million to 50 million to 100 million to a billion?
Not to mention in a way that is sticky.
Yeah, it's really tough.
Yeah.
Especially with the incumbents. We have Tether, we have USDC, we have Maker, and they have an early mover advantage.
Yeah.
So,
Indeed.
and I think that's really underexplored, and a lot of people maybe are also not aware that I just launch a stablecoin. I think, okay, I do a gold backed, I do this stablecoin, I do a Chilean stablecoin. It's a talk we also hear, but it's really tough.
Michael, thank you so much for your time. To wrap it up, I'll ask you one last thing. I know you're based in Switzerland as well. What do you think about Frankencoin and the Swiss franc stablecoin? For someone like you, does it serve you in a way? Do you see a lot of potential in non-USD pegged stablecoins? I'm curious about some of your thoughts about ZCHF and Frankencoin in general.
Yeah, to me, it makes a lot of sense. So what I like, Frankencoin is also like a decentralized stablecoin that has...
By the way, Lucius, the founder, when we did an interview with Johannes, him and myself, he actually mentioned Liquity as one of the inspirations for the model of his creation.
But he created truly also a very innovative own approach, something you don't see much, So kudos and respect to him too. And yes, of course, we should have a digital franc. A digital franc is a very great way to get out of the dollar. A kind of Swiss franc was very good in holding its value, probably one of the best currencies.
Indeed.
So, and not many people
have
access.
What attracted me to
not many people have access to Swiss francs. So I think for a lot of people outside, it's great. For me in Switzerland, I have a good banking system. You know, for us as Swiss, it's rather a problem. If too many people want Swiss francs, the price goes up. Okay. You know, we are kind of
I haven't thought of it.
For our exports, please don't do it.
Johannes actually explained this to me, like that when demand goes up, it affects the export because it gets too expensive.
Yeah, you know, the National Bank had to try to lower kind of because
to artificially
lower the price.
If I remember correctly, what he told me, they started buying euros.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah.
I've never heard of
the National Bank has a big balance sheet just of assets. Usually people print money to spend it. Switzerland printed money to buy foreign assets to create sell pressure on the franc.
That's actually so funny. Michael, I do want to talk to you for like 2 hours more, but I want to give the other guests of the conference some chance to enjoy your wisdom. Much respect. Thank you so much for joining me. And hope to talk to you soon, as quick as possible and as deeply as possible. And much respect for what you guys at Liquity do. I really think like you're a torch carrier for the industry and a leading example with maintaining like core values and innovation and decentralization and immutability, and really putting the DeFi in the center of what you do, and not necessarily all kinds of other incentives which are not what will take us over the next hump and are not what actually drives the incredible talent into this industry. So I think you guys have a huge role in our industry being as great as it is. So much respect to you and everyone in the team.
Respect to you
keep
too
going.
From Leviathan. You know, you're also doing a great job. Exactly,
Shout
highlighting these things. You know, being interested and educating people about that.
We're definitely
because you know we've seen.
Thank you so much.
That was just lacking. You know, everybody now thinks we should have more cyberpunk ethos. Decentralization matters. Now that things blow up, people go back to the values, and I think it's important that we have people like you that are interested and cover it.
Much respect and thank you, and I hope for both sides that we're all just starting, and because the road is still long. Thank you very much. Enjoy the conference.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye, everyone.